日本スナップス
Hi everyone and welcome to this new video. I hope everyone is doing absolutely fine. So in this video I wanted to talk about Japanese magazines, as you can see, but not any type of magazine. I want to talk about Shonen and Seinen magazines. There are basically three different ways of categorizing the magazines I'm going to talk about today. First of all, there's how often are they publicized. So there's going to be weekly magazines, there's going to be monthly magazines and quarterly magazines. So I'm going to present those in order. Then there's going to be the difference between shonen and seinen. You probably know the difference between the two, but if you don't, shonen is a younger demographic than seinen. Seinen magazines, as you see here, the very easy way to recognize them is that they will usually have young, attractive girls on the cover. Nothing scandalous, nothing. It's not an adult magazine. It's just everybody can buy them. It's just usually it's gonna be, as you can see, girls in bikinis. That will be the extent of things. But inside of them, you will have mangas just like any other magazine. So yeah, publication weekly, monthly, quarterly, and seinen, shonen. And then the third difference, which is probably something you do not know about if you do not live in Japan, it's publishers. So if you go to Japan, if you go to a bookstore or a book off, which is basically a used bookstore, then if you search for your favorite manga, you will need to know which publisher it has, because the mangas are not ordered alphabetically, they are ordered by publisher. So I think that's quite interesting. So I am going to start with the absolute number one, the most sold magazine in Japan. And so that's a weekly magazine. I'm going to start with the weekly magazines, and it's Shonen Jump. Shonen Jump, Weekly Shonen Jump as it's called. So as you can see, most pages will be black and white. So that's going to be the same for all the magazines I'm going to show you today. Most of them at least. Very cheap paper, but for quite a small price you will be able to read quite a lot. If you compare the price of one magazine to the price of what it would cost to have the actual manga, there's a big price difference. By the way, I forgot to talk about today's sponsor, and today's sponsor is me, Nippon Snaps. So every magazine that you see here, you can buy them all at our shop. There will be a link in the description, and you can either buy them individually, so the latest publication of Shonen Jump, for example, here, or you can buy a subscription, and I will send you every week, every month, every quarter, depending. I will send you the magazine that you've ordered, and if you order more than 3, I can give you better prices and faster shipping. So contact me if you want to buy more than 1. So let's go back to Shonen Jump. So it's the biggest magazine in Japan, and it's the magazine of Shueisha. So if you don't know Shueisha, it's a household name. It's like the biggest one. So if you know about Naruto, One Piece started here. So the first edition of Naruto was actually sold in 1999 in Shonen Jump. So the Shonen Jump with Naruto is really sought after and really expensive nowadays. So that's the funny thing with weekly Shonen Jump, is that you may have in one of the numbers the next Naruto, the next One Piece. I mean, it will happen one day, because Shueisha is like just the biggest name in the industry. So probably the second biggest publisher in Japan is Kodansha. So that's the magazine that you can see here. It's called Shonen Magazine. Kodansha published, among others, Attack on Titans, Space Brothers. So again, quite a big name. As you can see, the content doesn't change much. It's about, I would say, 300, 400, 500 pages. Shonen Jump and Shukan Shonen Magazine, or Weekly Shonen Magazine, are not very famous for their goodies. It's usually you read them for the mangas that are in and that are quite famous. So let's jump to number 3, and number 3 would be Besatsu Shonen Magazine, and it focuses more on fantasy. Not too much to say about this magazine. I mean, it doesn't have the household names that Shonen Jump and Shukan Shonen Magazine have, but it's still quite famous. You can go on Wikipedia and see what's your favorite manga, for example, and see what publisher it has, and you can buy the corresponding magazine. I think it's a good choice if you just want to have. So the 4th manga I actually do not have right now, but it's Shonen Sunday, which is also a weekly magazine. It's the 4th best-selling magazine in Japan, and it has a lot of household names because it's from Shogakukan, which is probably, as far as I could tell, probably the 2nd biggest publisher in Japan. And they have Detective Conan and Doraemon. So slightly younger demographics, but huge household name. Before continuing with monthly magazines, I want to talk to you about Weekly Shonen Champion, which is the 5th more popular magazine. So the publisher behind this magazine is Akita Shonen, which has Blackjack, Yowamushi Pedaru. Those are some of the most more famous magazines for that publisher. You probably saw the yellow and black hat. That's the sign of Akita Shonen, and it's quite popular. So now let's jump onto monthly magazines. So we talked about Shueisha. Of course, they have their monthly magazines, plural. I'm just going to focus on the biggest one now, which is SQ, Jump SQ. So you will find similar shonens as in Shonen Jump, but in a more condensed way, and every month instead of every week. And the print quality is slightly higher, I would say, even if there's not a huge difference between the two. It's a little bit more for, I would say, high schooler, so a little bit older demographics, I would say, slightly older demographics. Let's jump to the best seller on Nippon Snaps, and for a good reason. It's Koro Koro Comic. Here, smaller form factor, but slightly bigger. And the reason why Koro Koro Comic is so popular is, first of all, because it has Doraemon. The fact that there's Doraemon here indicates that it's Shogakukan. And the reason why it is so popular is because there are usually a lot of goodies coming with it. So here you have a card, you can have calendars, you can have a lot of different things. They are quite famous for that. They have great goodies, and inside, again, it's a slightly smaller form factor, but you will get the same cheap paper. And as you can see, there are quite a lot of posters, mini games, a lot of different things. They are very generous on their goodies, and that's the number one reason why it's that popular. It's absolutely the number one seller in on our website, and it's, I think, a great gift that you can make. Let's jump to Kodansha. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, and they have monthly shonen magazine, which is this one. So once again, same. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's like their weekly counterparts, same publication companies. So as I said, SQ is Shueisha, and Kodansha has monthly shonen magazine. So now let's jump to quarterly magazines. So here I have Doraemon, which is a magazine about Doraemon. So it's the Shogakukan magazine, quarterly magazine. Not as popular as Koro Koro because it doesn't have many goodies on it. But if you're a Doraemon fan, that's a no-brainer. It's only Doraemon stories, so great if you love that particular character. You will have newer Doraemon stories, older Doraemon stories. Obviously, they're not going to have like 500 pages of new stories, but I think it's solid. Again, if you like Doraemon, that's an absolutely no-brainer. And the most popular quarterly magazine on Nippon Snaps, as you can see, it's quite huge. It's Champion Giga. So again, Shueisha, it's from Shueisha, so the same company that has Shonen Jump and SQ. And look at that, it's just massive. Quarterly means you will have a winter edition, spring edition, summer edition, and fall edition. And usually you will have a nice goodie like this My Hero Academia folder. So that's it for the shonen manga. Now, before I wrap up the video, I just want to talk a little bit about seinen mangas, which are quite popular as well. Once again, everything here in the video you can order at nipponsnaps.com, link in the video. The most popular one, I think, is Young Magazine. So Young Magazine is from Shueisha. They're everywhere, and so you will have slightly more, I would say, high school themed relationship war. That would be like the two main themes: pretty girls and dudes fighting each other in terrible wars. That would be like the two main attractions of that. And of course, the cover girls. I'm not going to show too much here in fear that YouTube would strike it, but again, nothing adult themed. It's just girls in bikinis, and if you like that kind of thing, then Young Magazine is for you. The last magazine that I'm going to present to you today is Spirits. So it's quite similar to Young Magazine, except it's not from Shueisha, it's from Kodansha. And it's going to be basically the same thing. You're going to have the cover girl with some pictures, like those are good quality color pictures. And then sometimes you will have posters. You have to be really careful because it's easy to, if you want to take them apart, it's easy to break the paper. So be careful about that. One little concern that you sometimes can have with those magazines, as you can see here, is that they're sometimes a little bit chipped, and that's because that's new, by the way. I bought it new, but it's tossed into big trucks, and even new, they tend to have those little splints. It doesn't happen so much with magazines that have a harder cover, but with those, yeah, they can take a beating sometimes, so just be careful about that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please feel free to put a comment. I will, of course, do other magazines if you want. There are a lot of different styles of magazines that I haven't covered today, so shoujo manga would be one theme. You have, as I said, a lot of different magazines in Japan, so feel free to ask me in the comments what you want. If you're interested in getting any of those, please go to the links in the description, and you can either buy them individually, so you can buy the latest volume for each of those magazines, or you can subscribe and get better prices if you buy more than 3. This is all for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.